You guys are chatty, that's good, right? No, that's all good. So my name's Wendy Morris and I'm a regional manager with the Vermont Department of Labor. I manage services in Bennington, Rutland, and Addison County. The Sophomore Summit that you are participating in today, which is a really cool event, is something that actually happens in lots of other parts of the state as well. Sophomore Summit started in Bennington, Rutland brought that up. The Financial Reality Fair, have you guys all gone through that piece? Okay, hopefully you thought that was really, really cool as well. Financial Reality Fair is actually something that started here. Bennington's taking that, or has been doing that event for a few years now. And actually that event is going to start in Addison County as well. So there's a lot of sophomores around the state of Vermont that are really getting the same kind of experiences that you guys are having today. And the wonderful thing about that is it gives you an opportunity to connect to professionals, in this case, in the legal profession, where you can learn from them. They're going to talk to you about what it is their job is, and you can ask them questions, and I really, really encourage you to ask questions. This may be one of those unique opportunities you have to ask those questions. This event is brought to you by the Rutland Regional Workforce Investment Board. The Vermont Department of Labor does a lot of work with our WIBs around the state. How many of you are from Otter Valley or Mill Rivers? Okay, so a few of you. All right, so you guys have something called Real Careers, and that's a program that really can assist, I think, primarily seniors who are sort of trying to figure out what their plan looks like after high school. Real Careers is one of those programs that can help with that. That's actually funded by the Vermont Department of Labor. We also fund the TIPS program as well. Before we start with the video, I do want to go around the room again, because this is, we really want you to ask questions, but if I could just have, so fantastic, you all were able to say your name and what school you're from. That means you all have voices, which means you all have questions, right? You all have questions for our panelists. That is fantastic. So we're going to show a short video. And actually, there's one other question I wanted to ask. So how many of you are here today because you really have interest in legal professions? All right. So okay, so sort of, that's okay. How many are you of you are here today because you really just didn't know and somebody says, just throw this down and go? Okay. All right, then that's okay. Thank you for your honesty. So again, this is a really cool event that will allow you the opportunity to hear from these folks, and maybe for those of you that have already thought that this is a field you want to explore, maybe that's going to help answer some of the questions for you today. Maybe if you're just not totally sure, it may actually help you figure out that this is a field you really want, or it may help you figure out, nope, I'm not sure that this is the right field for me. So without further ado, we're going to show a short video, and then I'll have the presenters introduce themselves. Oh, yep, it's the my first job or new job, or it's in here. It's a new day. I'm not sure which one.
We're going to go with this one. If you see it,
it's a new day.
Oh, there we go. You picked the right one.
Today, companies like GE and Rutland Regional Medical Center have hundreds of real jobs to fill.
I grew up in Michigan, lived in New Jersey, lived in Montana. I've never fallen into a community so quickly. I can't even count how many times we rode the chairlift with folks from Boston or Hartford, Connecticut, and say, we would love to live here, but there's no jobs. There are jobs here.
To learn more, visit realrutland.com.
Okay. Who's president? Just go on back. Anybody have any idea what kind of legal, I guess we should introduce ourselves first. Right?
Yeah.
So my name's Amber Bull. I am an police officer in Rutland.
Robin Sweet, paralegal in Rutland.
Brad McCormick, I work for the Vermont Department of Corrections in Rutland.
And we are missing, we're gonna have a pretend stand-in over there. We have Mike McClelland, who's an attorney in Rutland. So anybody come up with any other legal professions that are not represented by a person here today? Think courthouses, think.
What was something that you said that you wanted to do?
Fish and wildlife.
Wildlife. Good. Anybody else? Any other careers, professions, legal community?
Okay, courthouse.
Judge.
Yeah.
Judge?
No.
Anybody else? Sorry. Nothing? Come on. What about case managers, right? Case managers. We've got clerks. What other legal professions? Quick.
Judge.
Already got that.
Probation officer.
Well, yeah.
There you go. All right, here in a bracelet.
Yeah.
So we will start with law enforcement first.
So I already introduced myself, but I was hired with Rutland City Police Department. I'm sure those of you from Rutland know that police department pretty well. And then I recently just did a switch to Rutland Town as a school resource officer. So I'm in the schools now. And switch forward. So educational requirements, you have to be 18 to 20 years old, 20 for the Vermont State Police, and 18 either with Rutland City Sheriff's Department, and I believe with Rutland Town you have to also be 18 years old and have a minimum of a high school diploma. So you don't need to have college education, but it will help you throughout your career in law enforcement. It will give you more opportunities and open more doors, whether or not you want to do K-9 or detective, any sort of position like that, as well as any of the commands positions, so sergeants, commanders, chief. And then once you also get hired, you actually have to go through a police academy. So depending on, everybody in the state of Vermont goes through one police academy. It's what keeps us all in law enforcement unified and connected to one another. And that's a 16-week course at the Vermont Police Academy in Pittsburgh. So salary, depending on what agency you go to, the Vermont State Police, they're actually a little higher than that right now. I think they're at 25. Rutland City is at 24, and then the Sheriff's Department is around 20. That's all starting out. And then with administration positions, you're looking at 1,000 or 100,000 and above. Also with all of these positions, other than the administrative, I think sometimes with administrative positions, you have the opportunity to work overtime, so you can make your salary jump up a significant amount. I know that there's some police officers in Rutland City that earn $90,000 one year, and that's just pure overtime. So if you have the ambition, if you want to do it, you can make a lot of money in this career field. Career advancement, it's kind of what I was saying with having a degree. You can find your niche in law enforcement, whether it be working with children, whether it be drugs, whether it be human trafficking. You can find that and you can go for it. There's a bunch of opportunity for trainings, and really, if you can express that you want to do it and you're open about it, you drive, they'll want to put you there because you're passionate about it. So whatever you kind of want to do, there's a field for it in law enforcement. Why I do this job, I like going to work and knowing that at the end of the day, I at least helped somebody. I made an impact on somebody's day. It's really important to me. I got into this job because I wanted to help people. I like being a public servant, no matter, I mean, I know that sounds a little weird, but I like working for the community. My favorite part of this job, one of them is the schedule, and also the diversity of what I work with. So I can go into work and know that I'm not going to be doing the same thing every single day. I could be going to a domestic, so there's two people fighting within the same household. I could go to a car crash. I could go to a child running naked in the middle of the road. Anything that you can think of, I would be responding to, and it's never the same every day. Least favorite part of the job, crash investigations. I hate crashes. I don't know what it is about them. I just do not like going to them. They're very unpredictable. 1 second you could have a car that's fine and then it's exploding, or you could have a crash with no injuries and then you're there for 15 minutes and someone's like, I can't walk. So I just don't like them. They come with a lot of paperwork too. So why I do this job here in Rutland, I actually went to school here at Castleton University. I graduated here with my bachelor's. And while I was in my senior year, I had an internship with Rutland City Police Department. So as soon as I graduated here, I applied there. I was kind of a shoo-in because they knew me, and I've been in Rutland ever since. So that's me.
Okay. So, as I said before, I'm Robin Sweet. I am a paralegal in Rutland City. I work for a litigation firm, so we do insurance defense work for the most part. A paralegal in the state of Vermont, you just need to have a high school diploma. You can have certifications or you can have a certificate. So I have certifications, which means that I took an exam to prove that I knew what I needed to know about the law to be a paralegal. In order to take those, you have to have different requirements. For the CRP, which is what I currently have, you need to have a high school diploma and 5 years of in-law firm experience. Anything beyond that, you need to have an associate's degree or higher. You need to be able to do everything from word processing to issue, what is it that you say?
Issue spotting.
Issue spotting. For the attorney, you need to be able to do research and have a general understanding of the law. So salaries, Vermont, we are a unique state in that most of our jobs for paralegals, unless you're in Burlington, are a mixed bag. So you're not usually just doing paralegal work, you're also doing secretarial work or bookkeeping work. You get to wear multiple hats, and that will determine where you fall on the pay scale. In Rutland, I guess in Vermont, I could say, you're probably looking at making, if you're an experienced paralegal, probably about $40,000 a year, maybe 50. And it's been my experience that you don't really get the overtime. You just get to keep doing the work. Advancement, you can continue your education by doing the credentialing, by taking the voluntary exams. Vermont does not require anything for you to be a paralegal except for an attorney to sign off that you are. And they're not usually quick to do that. In my experience, they kind of really want to make sure that if they're going to put their name on it, that you really do know your stuff. So I like the strategy of law. I like the chess match. I don't work in criminal or family court, so there's not usually a high level of emotion in our cases. We do sometimes defend like wrongful death situations, but my particular job is limited. I don't usually have contact with the family that's mourning the loss. I'm usually more of just the paperwork side of it. So I enjoy trying to figure out what the other side is going to bring for their claims and figuring out with the attorney what the defenses are going to be for that. My favorite part of my job is I love the research and I love the writing, the medical record summaries. I enjoy that. I spend hours in the library, in my office, holed up with papers and pens. But I despise having to keep track of my time. So as a paralegal, you're similar to an attorney in that you bill the client for your time. So I have to keep track of how much of my time is spent on the client work and what area of the client work I'm working on. I do this job here in Rutland because this is where my family is, right? We usually land where our family is. I have a husband, we have 6 children. Some of them are by birth, some are by marriage, some are by adoption, some are by fostering. My husband's a firefighter in Rutland town. He works for the town. I work for a local law firm, so this is sort of where our life is. So our kids keep us busy. We're on some nonprofit boards, so we're pretty community oriented. It's a really beautiful place. And with my job, I have a good, as Mike will talk about, a work-life balance.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brad McCormick. I'm the training officer at the Rutland Correctional Facility here. It's Marble Valley Correctional Facility. Actually, I work for the Vermont Department of Corrections here in Rutland. I've been there 32 years. Started there in college as a summer job, and it turned into a full-time job. And here I am 32 years later to tell you about it. But the idea is that I got into the line of work, whatever. My family knew one of the judges in town, whatever, and mentioned there was summer work there, and wanted to try out and give it a shot. I did, and I stayed. I got away from the construction field, essentially what I did during college. You try to find a summer job to fill the void there, get you some extra money. Well, this kind of was stimulating and kind of rewarding to me, so I stayed with it, and I'm still involved in it. The education requirement that we look at when we're hiring people is that they have a high school diploma, certainly, but we want to make sure that they're progressive. We want to make sure that they're actually attending colleges or taking classes, something that's going to be progressive where you're getting and bettering yourself. A lot of our hires come from the military. They have a skill set or training similar to ours. We do offer a corrections academy for all of our applicants. So we send them to Lyndonville, Vermont for 5 weeks, but we also have 3 more additional weeks. And so essentially it's an 8-week training cycle that we offer. They have to go to the academy, and it's a classroom setting just like this. They have to pass all their tests. They have to get an 80 or higher in all their courses that they're taking. So it might be emergency preparedness, advanced physical control, non-lethal use of force, suicide prevention, emergency preparedness, different classes like that to get you what we call the foundation to work at the correctional facility. You have to be able to have that foundation to be effective in the facility. So those certifications, when you complete the academy, you come back and we kind of work with that. And learning is ongoing. With any job, any field that you go into, learning is going to be something where you have to keep adapting and getting better at it. So, for instance, today when you're walking around there, all these people that are chatting with you, they're going to tell you about their careers and opportunities, that kind of thing. But all of us have to continue learning and education and getting better. That's the whole thing behind all this, is that there's opportunities, but you have to be engaged in your careers, whatever you choose to do. So our salary, we started off around 18 and change, actually, but the idea is that you can kind of make as much money as you want there. There's overtime all the time there. Correctional facilities are constant with incidents and things going on, and there's transports and medical situations up in the emergency room. We have facilities all around the state that we're transporting inmates to. We have them out of state. We have one contractor now in Mississippi, out of state. We're shipping guys down there. So the idea is that if you have some initiative and you want to, as I mentioned, be engaged in your career, you can kind of make enough money to support your families and kind of get where you are. One of our guys is 19 years old. He's from over in the Whitehall area. Came over and worked with us. He's 19 and made $72,000 last year. He's willing to work, right? So that just gives you an idea that if you want to show up to work and get involved and work on days off or work after shift. A lot of employees, whatever, when the bell rings, they're running out that door. If you're willing to stay and work some overtime, you certainly can get the salary that you kind of need to get for you and your family or be comfortable, whatever. So, career advancement, we start off as temporary correctional officers, and you become full-time and get a correctional officer 1 position as correctional officer 2s, acting shift supervisors, security operations supervisors, then you go to assistant superintendent, there's caseworkers that work in there, there's a whole medical wing in the building, so there's medical opportunities. We also, if you want to go advance further up, in corrections, there's in our central office up in Waterbury, the assistant commissioner, the commissioner of corrections, lofty goals, right? You can attain all those positions. So the salary range is different all the way through. You can make anywhere from $50,000 a year to $125,000, depending on your rank, how much you want to work, and getting again engaged in your career. So, why I do this job? I mentioned here, there's a sense of satisfaction, at the end of the workday. We help people. A lot of people think that we're just putting people in jail, and it's kind of like I mentioned in one of the earlier classes, it's like gladiator school, okay? It's not necessarily that. Eventually, all of these individuals are going to be getting out of jail. They're going to be out in your supermarkets, they're going to be in your movie theaters, they're going to be in the community, and while they're there, we want to make them better people, so when they get back out, they're going to be part of our community. They're going to be better citizens. So not everybody in there is, awful. It's just they might have a substance abuse problem. They found themselves, in a low part of their life, whatever, got arrested, got put in jail, and while they're there, we're going to, again, try to work on things with them. So part of my job maybe is to be a mentor. When I'm in that cell block and I'm walking around the cells or walking around the living units, maybe I can help somebody. I had some advantages that some other kids didn't have, or when they were growing up, or people didn't have. I'm fortunate, right? So as you are. You're here today, you're learning, you're getting yourself in position for something good to happen later on, getting opportunities. Well, the idea is they might not have had those advantages growing up. So when we're in there, I actually try to, I'm not the guy that's gonna stir soup or pet the cat backwards, okay? I'm gonna try to help these people, try to make them, give them some solutions or some solutions to their life that might help them. So while they're in there waiting for their trial to get resolution on, that kind of thing, or their case, whatever, and they're out, they're going to school, they're trying to get facility jobs, they're trying to work in the kitchen, they're trying to do different things there. They're gonna give them a skill set so when they get out, they can be successful. So a lot of the guys that are in there have problems with substance abuse. That's the main thing in there. So, and the gals that are in there, certainly working through things as well. But I do this job because it's a sense of satisfaction, as I mentioned, whatever, but it also, I can help people, okay, and I can actually find something at the end of the day that gives me, something good to feel good about, I guess. So, my favorite part of the job is I'm involved with all the hiring. I do all the hiring at the correctional facility. I have to review applications and make sure that the applicants are going to be appropriate. There's record checks, different things like that. So I enjoy giving people the opportunities to work and have careers, that kind of thing, and that's rewarding. It's just ongoing stuff there. We're constantly hiring, so we're sending people to the academies and making sure they have all their certifications and such. So that I find that rewarding. The least favorite thing, everybody's got something in their job they're not crazy about, but we have, I mentioned dry cell status. Okay, guys come into jail, and when they come in, they're trying to smuggle contraband in the facilities. So they're taking drugs and they're packing them rectally. So what we have to do is put them in a cell with no toilets or water, and make sure that they produce 2 samples in kind of a commode, if you will. And it's not real popular with our officers. Okay, we have strip searches, we have different things that go on throughout the day that we have to do. It's a protocol we follow to keep safety in mind. And that's certainly not favorable for most of the employees there, but we have to do it. So why I do this job, I live here in Rutland. I've lived here my whole life. I went to Christ the King School, went to MSJ, went to the College of St. Joseph, played basketball, played baseball, sports, been involved in the community with many things. I'm involved with coaching sports throughout the community. My family lives here. I have a daughter in the Rutland Middle School. I have a daughter at Rutland High School. So my wife lives here, works here. She's from the area, and we live here. So basically, I'm rooted here. I've got roots here. Know a lot of the community. So yeah, it's I've been working at the department for 32 years, and it's home. So it's a good place to live, good place to bring the family up and raise your family as mentioned. So there it is.
My turn.
Yeah, you're up.
All right. I'm Mike McClelland. I work at McClelland and Associates. It's a family law firm. I work for my father and with my brother. We're a general practice firm, which means we do pretty much any type of law that comes in. We do family, criminal, civil, probate. We do everything. Real estate. So to become an attorney, you obviously need to start by graduating high school. You need a bachelor's degree. Most states require that you have a JD, a Juris Doctorate. That's law school. It's what you get when you graduate law school. 4 states, as you can see up there, but Vermont in particular, doesn't require you to go to law school. You can do an internship, basically, it's called a law office study with a firm. You do 4 years of that, and there's all these things you have to do to do that, but you can avoid going to law school and maybe some student loans there. To become an attorney, you have to sit for the bar exam and you have to pass the bar exam. Salary, it depends on where you are, what type of law you're doing, what your actual duties are, and what law you're doing in your experience. These are averages. It all depends on where you are in the country and where you are in that point in your career. As far as career advancement goes, for attorneys, some attorneys become attorneys to either just be a partner of a law firm, own their own law firm, maybe be the state's attorney for a community, but obviously you can work your way up and become a judge, federal judge. Those are really the advancements, and it's really up to you what you want to do. And law, being an attorney is a really unique area because whatever you want to do, there's a type of law for that. Why I do this job, I like helping people, as Robin said. basically somebody comes into my office with an issue, figure out what that issue is, and I help them solve their problem. And it, as Brad was saying, it is rewarding to help people and to help people and be their problem solver. The favorite part of my job is actually going to trial. So Robin talked about doing research and things like that. That's the least favorite part of my job. To me, I think that's boring. It's a necessary part of my job, but I like the culmination of all that hard work, which is actually going to trial and presenting my client's issue in a court to a jury or to a judge. I do it in this area because I think in Vermont you can have a good work-life balance. You can make enough money to support your family and to do the things you want to do, but also have the time to do that. And the majority of my family's here, so that's why I like this area. Obviously I work for a family firm, so it doesn't hurt either. So that's all we have in the way of presenting. We want to make sure we left time for questions. So does anybody have any questions that they want to ask any of us?
You get a little knick-knack if you do.
What's the weirdest thing that you've seen while out on patrol? Like,
Oh boy.
We have had this question. This is a good one.
I've seen a lot of weird things. I don't even know what I could tell you, honestly. I'm trying to think. Can I get back to you? I'll think about it because I've seen a lot of weird stuff, but I have to really think about like what would be a good one to tell you guys. I'll think about it. I'll tell you before the end of this session. Okay. All right. Anybody else?
What's your favorite cases to work on?
Favorite cases to work on? Boy, that's a tough one.
Guys have
I-
tough questions.
And I think it's tough because, like I said, I'm a general practice attorney, but I would say any of the cases that actually get me into court. So I do civil litigation, I do criminal, I do family. It really depends. It really depends on the day, I guess. But yeah, any of the cases that get me into court, those are my favorite.
I thought about it. I think the weirdest thing, and it's not just one in particular, mental health cases are very interesting because people's minds will surprise you. And when they're not actually in their right mind, say they have schizophrenia, say they have like paranoid schizophrenia, they will come up with the craziest things and the craziest stories. So I think those are probably the weirdest or most abstract calls that I've been on, just because people they go crazy places when they're not in their right state of mind. So that's kind of that's that realm of it.
Hi, what was your experience like training to be a police officer
In the police academy?
Yeah.
So basically, with Rutland City, we ended up having, I think it was 2 weeks of like pre-basic training, which was kind of like going over everything that was going to happen in the academy. The academy essentially is 16 weeks of classroom, but it's also, you're going through scenarios, you're getting yelled at for not having your bed made the right way. When you're not in class, you have like small breaks where you we call it getting smoked. So you're doing push-ups, you're doing sit-ups, you're doing jumping jacks, whatever it is that the TAs that week, which are other law enforcement officers, they come in and they want you to do for messing up in room inspections. But as the 16 weeks goes forward, there's 3 different phases. So as you move through the phases, you become more of an adult. So you can get coffee in the morning, or you can get more time on the phone. But it kind of just gears you up towards what your life's going to be like out on the road. So they teach you a lot in the 16 weeks. Me personally, I kind of, sometimes you wish you had more experience because it's a lot to cram into 16 weeks. So.
What's the most physically demanding part of your job?
Arresting someone that's a lot bigger than you, fighting with people that are a lot bigger than you, that's probably the most physically demanding. A lot of departments require you to pass a PT test, but I work out on my off time, so it's not like that's very hard for me. Just kind of matching up with someone who's a lot bigger than you and having the mental capacity too to be able to say, I can take this person. That's probably the biggest thing.
So is training to become like a correctional officer different than training to become like a police officer?
There's different academies. A lot of the trainings are going to be parallel though. So like we have non-lethal use of force and advanced physical control. There's different trainings, whatever, but they're very similar. A lot of our restraint holds, different things are very similar to the police departments. So we have to learn all those. And but that's demanding. You asked the question about getting through those trainings is difficult as well because you have to get your certification. So part of my job is to make sure those certifications are current with all the officers as the training coordinator. So they have to pass these with proficiency. So they might be able to, put someone on the ground, whatever, but they have to handcuff properly. There's techniques and different ways to do things. So you have to. The trainings are essential in terms of lawsuits and different things. If I don't know how to spray pepper spray or I don't know how to handcuff someone properly, I can cinch the cuffs too tight on somebody. There's double locking cuffs and different things that are all these officers have to be proficient in. And so, yeah, the departments are very very similar with their certifications. We all have to be proficient in different things. I'm sure you're at the academy, you're 16 weeks, theirs is more extended. There's probably, we don't have necessarily the law piece that you have there, the legal piece.
Yeah, we have a lot of
Yeah.
criminal law.
So we condense ours, our academy is kind of condensed. Ours is 5 weeks at the academy with other weeks at the facility because there's more things to learn inside the facility as well. But there's 16 weeks out there to get them ready for the road and different things and in the courtroom, and so they're different. But, question? No?
Yeah. So, is the city police the same kind of training as the Vermont State Police?
Yes, so actually in the state of Vermont, it's kind of unique. Every law enforcement officer that's going to be full-time certified, so technically level 3 certified, has to go to the Vermont State Police Academy. So that's Vermont State Police, city police, town, no matter sheriff's department, you all have to go through the same one. And that's because one, we're a small state, and two, if VSP, we call them VSP, Vermont State Police, if VSP is coming in from wherever in Rutland, they're in Rutland or they're in Killington, and we need backup in the city, we need to be able to work with them one-on-one, and they need to be able to back us up whenever we need it. And it's the same for the Vermont State Police. If they're out in Wallingford and there's a sheriff out there, they need to be able to work hand in hand. So that's kind of why they do it the way that they do, where we all go to one police academy. And Vermont, I mean, everybody's learning the same laws, same techniques, everything like that. So it's good to keep everybody on the same basis. The Vermont State Police does have a little bit more training post-basic and pre-basic, just because of it's the state police, so they have a lot more legal authority, not legal authority, but they have a lot more, what am I trying to say?
Jurisdiction.
Yeah, jurisdiction, and, I mean, they've had a lot more lawsuits than most of the municipals, so they really have to cover their butts more than we necessarily do. So that's kind of why they have a lot more training too.
This is less of a question and more of just a personal connection. Both my uncle and my cousin-in-law just graduated from the Nebraska State Police Academy. And they do it the same out there, where it's as big as the state is, they have all of the students concentrated at one facility. So.
Some states do it, some don't. Some, like Massachusetts, they have their own little policing departments throughout the state. So just depends on your state and what they kind of choose that they want to do.
Have you ever declined to work with a client?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why. I mean, we do it all the time. We have ethics that we have to follow, and one of those is conflicts of interest. So, yeah, we decline a lot because of conflicts of interest. Anybody else? Any questions?
Have you ever worked with the Vermont Fish and Wildlife?
Yes. So we can work with them there are some, in the city, there are some rivers and streams, so if someone's not using their if they don't have a fishing license, cars hit deer and moose all the time. We just had one on Route 4. I don't know if any of you guys from Rutland heard about the moose that got hit on Route 4. Yeah, that was a pretty big moose, so they had to come in and they actually take the moose. So we work hand in hand with them, and actually it's the same thing for Vermont Fish and Game. They have to go to the Vermont State, or the Vermont Police Academy. So we know them, we work with them, and it's kind of it's the same thing with agencies.
How many years has it like taken you to get to where you are now?
So actually, I was hired in March of 2018. So I've been on for over a year and a half. So I was on patrol and I went through the academy. So I was on patrol for about a year and a half, and then I ended up just switching just because there was an opening in Rutland Town School. And I personally really eventually want to be a detective working with child abuse cases, child sex crimes, anything to that nature. So for me, being in a school atmosphere and learning more about how to talk to kids, their psychology, everything to that nature, it makes sense for me to be in the school to work my way to that. So it hasn't taken me very long. Other officers, it takes a long time to get to where they want to go, but it depends on what you want to do and what your aspect of law enforcement wants to be focused on.
What's the weirdest case you've worked on?
The weirdest case I've worked on? I used to do public defender work, and so there were a lot of weird cases that I had. But probably the weirdest one I had was a home burglary. This guy went into the house. There were 3 guys, all of them had masks on. They go in, and they start taking things. They were antique guns. That's what they were going after. So he goes in and takes the antique guns. So my client was the only one to take his mask off, and he actually was the one who knew about the guns because it was his friend's house, and so he helped set up all the cameras in the house, security cameras. So he was the only one that knew there were security cameras in there. He was the only one to take his mask off. And so we're sitting there, and the judge is like, why'd you take your mask off? And he's like, well, it was hot. And I'm just standing there like, this is just great.
Some criminals are not smart at all.
No. So that was probably the weirdest one.
Some of them decide to run before they think. Some of them don't think before they do things.
Oh yeah.
I've actually been behind a car that I have no clue what the person driving it was doing, but like they were literally like going like that into the incoming lane too. Like
oh, they're doing a lot of things. They could have been texting, they could have been drunk, they could have been yeah, there's a lot of different things that cause people to do that. So anybody else? We have 5 more minutes left. Who wants to go? Your hand came up first.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. What has been like your hardest case to defend or?
My hardest case is actually there's a lot of them. Anyone where there's a child victim is always hard, but actually the hardest one I had was I was still an intern. I was with the Albany County Public Defender over in New York State, and our client was actually 15 years old, and it was another burglary. An old woman was home. Nobody was hurt, thank God. But we were able to work out a really good deal for him that would have kept him juvenile status, so it wouldn't have carried over into his adult life. We brought it to the judge, and the judge threw it out and basically said he's not going to be satisfied with anything less than an adult criminal sentence for the kid. So we had to take that one to trial, and unfortunately we ended up with a criminal record, life ruined. That was probably the hardest one.
Have you ever worked directly with the state police?
With the state police, we work with all the agencies. They come in continually throughout the day, throughout the work week, the month. Yeah, all the agencies we have to interact with because they're bringing us our customers. So all the
Customers.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it, not me.
No, so the idea is that they're we have to interact with them. They're calling the building all day long, the facility, and they're coming up to meet with the clients and coming up to interview them and kind of they have different things going on about interaction. So every agency, whether it be the city police, the state police, the sheriffs, it might be constables. It could be within a 60-mile radius of the building. And U.S. Marshals, FBI, we have different transport vehicles pulling in all times. We're busy. It's a real busy place. So a lot of interaction with all the agencies certainly.
What's the hardest thing you've seen from
Anything dealing with a child, just like was said before. One of my hardest cases was a child that was abused, and it's just like one of those things that, especially children that are under the age of 5, they are defenseless. They cannot stick up for themselves. They can't do anything. So to have grandparents, parents, any sort of guardian abuse that child to the extent where they're getting either physical wounds, they could die. That's the hardest cases that I've found for me, and especially because I want to work with that sort of population. I'm very passionate about it, so I mean it's hard because you don't want to let emotions get in the way of anything, and when you're on that scene you're not, but when you go home and you start thinking about it, it's the ones that are really going to get to you and you're going to have to work through the most.
Probably have time for maybe another, maybe 1, maybe 2 questions.
So this is kind of a weird question, but what is the most common drug that people try and sneak in?
Oh, we see all assortment of all of it, but heroin seems to be real popular right now, and it's kind of a crisis with opioids right now in the state, all over the country actually. But it just we're seeing a lot of it coming in, and they're trying to smuggle pills in. It's constant contraband flow is. Just because they're arrested or incarcerated doesn't mean they're going to stop their behavior. They're going to continue to try to, get those drugs in, and whether they get them in, by people smuggling them in through the visiting room, or if they're real creative with. They were taking volleyballs and throwing them over the razor wire, popping them intentionally, and then throwing them over the fence on the bike path, the jail. So what they do is they send one of their significant others to the path. They'll cut the ball open, put drugs in it, and throw the dead ball back over into the yard, so we don't think anything of it. So we get hip to the game after a while. But certainly there's going to be a constant flow of contraband introduction. So and whether it be heroin or cocaine or whatever, their involvement is heavily in the substance abuse. So.
Oh, one more question if anybody's got anything.
what does the work and life balance look like for you?
Work and life balance, I try to be home as much as I can. For us, it really depends on the day. It depends on what we have, but I would say in Vermont, you're looking at a really good work-life balance. I mean, I'm at work more than I'm at home, but not to the extent that I can't have an enjoyable home life. Most weekends I don't work, so I have most weekends off. If we're prepping for trial, you're in trial, and you're in trial mode the whole time. But I was most weekends I'm off, most holidays I'm off because courts aren't opening and things like that. So I think the work-life balance for a Vermont attorney is very good. If you get into big law to make a ton of money, you're gonna be there all the time.
My dad is an attorney.
Your dad's an attorney?
Yeah.
In Rutland? Who's your dad?
Andrew Moss.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he does the ski stuff like that.
Yeah, you actually probably know my dad.
Probably know my
Blake Cushing,
Yeah.
state trooper.
Yep.
You know?